Hey, what's going on? Luke here. For today's video, we're going to be talking about my top 5 signings of the 2024 NRL season. Now, this is in the preseason, so obviously I don't really have the season to go by. I'm just purely going off previous seasons and whether I think they're going to be good value for money and if they're going to offer something great to the side. And obviously everything's going to be debatable. Everything's going to be subjective. Well, my list is probably going to be quite different to your list, things like that. Also worth noting is that, make sure you watch the video, make sure you listen to it, and take note of my reasons for why they're in the top 5 or why someone's higher than the other or why someone's not on the list, because there's probably a good reason. Obviously, I can just sit here and just look at, the big name signings and say, yep, they should definitely be on the list. Obviously, it's pretty blatant, but I just wanted to give particular reasons why someone's rated, I rate someone better than the other one. So, look, we're going to start off with number 5. And at number 5, I do have Spencer Leniu moving from the Penrith Panthers to the Sydney Roosters. I think this is a great signing for the Roosters. I think it's an okay move for Leniu. I don't know, he could have signed with anybody and it probably would have had same sort of impact for him in particular. But I think with the Roosters, they get talked about as being this absolute dominant force in the NRL, and it's just not the case. And they have Spencer Leniu, who's literally come from a genuine dominant force in the NRL, who's there year after year. For the last 4 years, they've made the grand final. He's gone to a new club. And also, you look at the Roosters, the one position that I think they do struggle a little bit with is obviously they've got Lindsay Collins and they've got Hargreaves, but they don't have that absolute just impact player coming off the bench. And now Spencer Leniu is that. And then also, if things go to plan and if things sort of work out, you maybe have a long-term replacement for Hargreaves, who is aging as well. So for me, this works in a lot of ways in the sense that immediately they get an amazing player to come off the bench. And then in long term, they might have a starter. Maybe he transforms his game and becomes a starter. He plays longer minutes. I'm not sure exactly, because at the Panthers, he only has to play what he has to play. There's a lot of talk about he can't play big minutes and stuff. Can he play the big minutes? Is it a case of he can, he just doesn't have to because he's got Fisher Harris there playing big minutes and, the other players as well. Penrith have a pretty versatile forward pack with good motors, so it seems weird that Spencer Leniu be the one guy in that side who just doesn't have a motor. It doesn't make sense to me. A lot of talk about the Panthers being the fittest team in the comp, so everything kind of makes sense that Leniu would be up there as well. He just sort of hasn't had to do it. And going to the Roosters, I think is really going to transform his game. Think of their forward pack. You add him, maybe an Angus Crichton off the bench, even Brandon Smith and a few of those sort of guys. They've got a lot of impact players now that they didn't have in the previous season, who I think are going to be at their best. So I think it could be dangerous having Spencer Leniu. I think it's a great signing for him. In at number 4, I have Roger TuivasaSheck moving from Rugby Union to the Warriors. In fact, it was the Warriors to Rugby Union, back to the Warriors. Now this one, I think it kind of explains itself, if I'm being completely honest with you. You look at Roger TuivasaSheck, he's won a Dally M, he's been the best player in the game at different points in his career. You can argue whether he actually was or not, but just factually, according to the NRL, he was at least the best for one season. And obviously, he's led New Zealand, he's led the Warriors in the past, he's won premiership to the Roosters, super experienced, and he kind of brings maybe what the Warriors don't quite have at the moment. They've got a very, very good squad, but they don't have anyone who's just got that winning edge, and that's what Roger TuivasaSheck has. He's won premierships. He's sort of been there and done it at this point. And he's gone over, he's played in Rugby Union, he's got to be around, All Black setups and stuff. So there's a good chance he comes back and he's an even better player. So a good chance he comes back and he might be a little bit washed. I'm not exactly sure. History says that when NRL players leave and go and play a complete different sport. I'm not talking about going to Super League or anything. I'm talking about a complete different sport. Look at Benji Marshall, someone who went to Rugby Union. We've also seen guys like, say, for example, maybe Carmichael Hunt. I know he's a bit older, never really got back to NRL level. We also saw guys like Jared Hayne, Valentine Holmes go to the NFL. And you can argue Holmes is one of the best centers in the game. But at the time when he left, he was sort of earmarked as being, one of the best long-term fullbacks in the NRL. And obviously, he doesn't even play fullback anymore. He's stuck in the centers, which isn't a bad thing, but it's just a complete different career trajectory to what he was in the lead-up. And he was one of the few who didn't go over when he was older. Obviously, Roger is a little bit older at this point, and he's sort of probably looking to go down the Valentine Holmes sort of route, going back into the centers. That's where it seems he's going to be. You've got Chance there. I think you got to keep Chance in at the fullback role, because wherever Chance goes, the club sort of seems to find success. Look at the Raiders when he moved over as a reserve grader from the Warriors, funnily enough. Go to the Raiders, they become grand finalists, to become an absolute force in the NRL again. He leaves, Warriors not so great, goes to the Warriors, and the Warriors have the exact same fate. They find themselves as one of the better sides in the NRL. So whatever he does, he's not exactly like the flashiest player, but he must have good communication and stuff. And then you can add in at different points, Roger can just chime in as like a second fullback. I feel like at this point it kind of gets overstated a lot in terms of, the roaming center, but that could be Roger TuivasaSheck. Also got to keep in mind too, he's been playing a different game, so he's got to get the fitness levels back up and all that sort of stuff. So might take a little bit of time for Roger to get it, sort of find his feet a little bit, but I think he can definitely be an X factor in that center position. And whether the Warriors sort of maybe struggled in games last year to just have that game breaker, now they've got that game breaker in Roger TuivasaSheck, and I think it's going to be a great signing for him. Now moving on to number 3, I actually originally had this guy in at number 2. I swapped it sort of last minute, but that player is Jack Whiten, moving from the Canberra Raiders, going to the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Now, the reason for him being at number 3 rather than number 2 or even number 1 is just the fact that he's played all these years at 5'8", even a little bit of fullback. And, he played rep games at centre, but that seems to be where they want to play him at the Rabbitohs. So they've made this big marquee signing to chuck him in the centres when he's been, he's won Dally-Ms, but he's won them in the centres. And I know I've kind of just got done talking about another player who, made his name in one position and is moving to the centres, but I think Roger, and that's for the betterment of Roger TuivasaSheck finding his feet back in the NRL. Like, if it was Roger at his peak, you'd chuck him in at fullback, but sort of just waiting to see. Whereas Jack Whiten, it's not like he's been away from the NRL. He's been signed purely to just chuck into this Rabbitohs side, and I think the Rabbitohs, to some degree, that's their strength, but in other aspects, it's not their strength at all. Like, they did have Dane Gagai there a couple of years ago, and they didn't win a comp. So, is Gagai in the centres any better or any worse than Jack Whiten being there? I don't think so. I honestly don't think so. And, they still have Ilias and stuff there. But I guess the good thing about Jack Whiten is that if things don't quite work out with Ilias, you can chuck him in the halves. You can sort of rearrange things. And that's where the versatility of Jack Whiten is quite valuable. That's also why I chucked him in at number 3 rather than 2, because is it a guarantee? Is it a guarantee he's going to play in the centres? The staff talked about him being on the left, and I think Campbell Graham being on the right. So, at least they're going to start off with him in the centres, but at the same time, is he a guy that you can say at the end of the season he's definitely going to be in the centres? Is he going to be in another position? Is he going to be in the forwards? Who knows? That's where it's sort of strange for Jack Whiten, because he's played 5'8", and it's been a long time since he's played any other position. So he signed for a brand new club who already have 5'8" and such. So there's still that question mark over where is he actually going to play. And that I'll get to later on in the list. There'll be a guy who's in a similar position, but it's a little bit more clearer as to why I'm not really too fazed by him. But yeah, Jack Whiten, just sort of the unstableness of his position in the actual side. Not in the sense that he's definitely going to be playing first grade, but just his age. And also the fact that he hasn't played some positions he's probably going to play week in, week out for quite some time. It's one thing to do it instead of Origin in a one-off game, sort of in a very defense-heavy game. It's one thing to do it with that and have all the elite players inside and outside of you. It's another to have, rookies like Munro or someone, or maybe like a Tane Milne or someone outside of you, and be able to back yourself defensively and stuff. So we'll see how he goes. I think he is going to be a good signing, but just in terms of the top 5, that's why I had him at number 3 rather than number 2 or number 1. And at number 2, like I said, this guy was originally number 3, but I moved him up one spot, and that player is going to be Herby Farmworth, moving from the Broncos over to their crosstown rivals in the Dolphins. I was going to say Redcliffe still. It's been a whole season and I still want to say it. But yeah, I think Herby Farmworth is going to be an absolutely fantastic signing. Add in the other signing as well. They got 2 brand new centres. And I think that might have been their weakness. And the other centre being Jake Averillo, who was absolutely fantastic for the Bulldogs. Super versatile. And I think originally when he signed, I remember Farmworth talking about wanting to play fullback. And then obviously the hammer just absolutely took off. And, he's an enigma himself. So if you've got a lot of versatility, Averillo can play in a lot of positions. Farmworth can play in a lot of positions. And the centre position, they had guys who arguably you can say were reserve grade standard. And I feel like a lot of the actual Dolphins side, Flegler's another one who's a huge improvement. The Dolphins actually made some really good signings. And it makes sense because it is their second year. They've been able to sort of establish themselves and, show the side that they're not the complete shit show that they might have been when they came into the comp. So signing Farmworth was a great move. They got Averillo, they got Flegler. They've got a lot of good signings. And then the other guys who have made the debuts are going to be another year in. I'm very excited to see this Dolphins side, and a lot of it is due to Herby Farmworth, and he had a fantastic sort of breakthrough year in 2023. Obviously made the grand final. It's going to be a huge loss for the Broncos, and a lot of my sort of doubts over the Broncos this year sort of stems around the fact that they're losing Flegler and Herby Farmworth. And Farmworth is a big one because as good as he was, like, I don't think we expect him to be as good as what he was. We knew he was going to be decent, but he was a superstar last year, essentially. And, a great signing for the Dolphins. I'd imagine they got him for a decent little contract. He's super young as well. He's someone they can sort of build the club around. And, like I said, at different points, maybe he can move positions as well later on down the line. But, I think Farmworth is going to be great for them. Just adds that little bit of strike power that I don't think they had. Their forwards are great. Their forwards are super experienced. Keep them in games. But their back line, it's like they pass to the big fella, I forget his name, Valance. And then, Ewan Aiken and, George Jennings and a lot of these sort of guys who definitely reserve grade players, let's be real. And now they've got some genuine electric, pacey sort of guys in the centers that they can pass the ball to. So I think that's going to work out really well for them, honestly. And just the fact that they're so young too, I think they can build around them for a long, long time. Now moving on to number one, this is going to come to a surprise of probably nobody. The fact that I haven't mentioned him at this point, and he is arguably probably like the biggest name signing, is Stephen Crichton, moving from the Penrith Panthers to the Canterbury-Bankstown Bulldogs. Now, I feel like every year I mention at least one or two players who signed from the Bulldogs, or signed to the Bulldogs, I should say. And I'm obviously going to have some bias because I'm a Bulldogs fan, but I think this one, then we can all sort of agree that this is a fantastic signing. Whether he plays centre, whether he plays wing, whether he plays the fullback, I think he's going to end up playing fullback. The Bulldogs don't have a fullback, let's be real. We have some options, but we don't have a fullback. At worst, he's going to play in the centres, and he's the best centre in the game. And at best, he moves to fullback, and I think he can become one of the best fullbacks in the game. He's super young. It's been talked about. He's one of the hardest workers in the NRL. He comes from a winning culture. He's a big game player. He's clutch. He's good with the boot. He's a goal kicker. There's so many good things about Stephen Crichton, and that's him as a centre, let alone a fullback. So if worst comes to worst, like I said, they can trial him at fullback. If it works, great. If not, in the centres or on the wing. There's been a lot of talk about, Black Taff, Connor Tracy. The Bulldogs made a lot of good signings this year, in my opinion. I know it sort of gets overstated, in my opinion. And, it is a bit of a meme at this point about the whole utility sort of thing. But I don't think it's a bad thing. I think the Bulldogs have made some great signings this year. Definitely an improvement on last year. And I think just the mentality alone, Stephen Crichton coming in, I think he's going to demand just that greatness out of players. And where players in previous years for the Bulldogs were happy to get an opportunity and come over and just happy to play a bit of first grade that they hadn't got opportunities at previous clubs, I think you sign a guy like that. You have Kiko there as well. You got Burton there. You just got enough guys. Serrata, the coach, come from Penrith. You got enough guys there who are like, no, you're not coming here just to play first grade. We want the best out of you, and we need you to be at your best. So I think at this point, we don't want guys who are just happy to be first graders. We want guys who want to be genuine superstars. And Crichton, he's definitely shown that over the years, and I think he's going to be absolutely fantastic. A lot of the talk, I just watched a podcast on the Cast Patrol with Jacob Carraz, and he said the communication from Stephen Crichton is amazing. So I think that in itself is going to be quite important at fullback. Probably where we've sort of lacked a little bit in previous years is just maybe some communication. We've had a lot of guys who are, 5'8", just playing fullback and that sort of stuff. So it's going to be great to have a guy who has played fullback before and has come from a successful system. Been there with Dylan Edwards as well, who I think is one of the better communicators in the NRL as well. So everything sort of points to this being a great signing. I don't even think this is paying overs for him as well. So that sort of works in our favour as well. It's a long-term deal, super young. I absolutely love it. I'm a Bulldogs fan, so there's going to be bias, but I absolutely love this signing. But those are my top 5 signings of 2024, guys. Let me know in the comment section below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Am I completely off the money? Do you not agree with me at all? Because I think I absolutely nailed it, to be honest with you. But we'll see at the end of the season. It's probably going to be completely different. But that's my top 5. If you happen to enjoy this video, make sure you go ahead, smash the like button, and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. I've been uploading a fair bit, been doing a lot of live streams as well. So stay tuned for more live streams, more videos. Also, speaking of the live streams, thanks to everybody who super chatted and also became a member. You're seeing on the screen right now all the latest super chatters. Thank you so much to you guys, and also the members as well. Been gaining a few new members, also going in the higher levels as well. So thank you so much for everybody who's become a member and done super chats. Very much appreciated. And I also just want to give a mention to my social media on the screen right now. Spencer and YT, give me a follow, give me an ad. And look, stay tuned for more content on the channel. Going to be trying to upload daily, as we get closer to the NRL season. So stay tuned for more. I'll see you in the next one. See yous.